We are here in an undisclosed location somewhere in the United States interviewing our colleague Joe Shahda. And Joe, firstly, all of us at American Congress for Truth want to thank you for your terrific effort. And there has been enormous respect for the work that you've concluded over the last several months and, frankly, the last several years, particularly with regard to both translation and monitoring of the terrorist websites. One of the stunning things that you and I have talked about today was a recent translation that you have concluded of a famous biography of an Al-Qaeda terrorist. Do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. It's in fact a document I found on the Flash Terrorist Forum. And the document was written by one of Al-Qaeda top leadership. His name is Saif al-Adil. And it was a biography of al-Sarkawi. Terrorist Abu Musab al-Sarkawi is a famous terrorist who was in Iraq for 3-4 years and committed untold number of terrorist acts and killed untold number of civilians as well, killing American soldiers and troops. Basically, the most stunning thing in the document that Al-Adil said that Sarkawi went to Iraq before the war started, before 2003, in preparation for the U.S. invasion of Iraq. And he went to the Sunni areas, that's how we mentioned, to the Sunni areas in central Iraq. And those areas were totally dominated by Saddam troops. They were very loyal to Saddam Hussein regime. So it would have been impossible for Zarqawi to be present in those areas without the knowledge of Saddam and his regime. So I think that's a very important revelation for us in terms of the historical content of Saddam regime relationship with terrorism. Now, the document itself states that there is no relation, Al-Qaeda had no relation with Saddam, but this does not negate the fact that Zarqawi was present in areas controlled by Saddam, and for them to be present, to be able to operate, to set up terrorist cells, to set up hideouts, to set up communications and bring weapons. That means Saddam regime knew about them and turned a blind eye. And that's a very important thing that we need to talk about and we need to reveal to the public.
We were talking about some of the things that we became involved with you on, particularly the monitoring, the interception, and the shutdown of terrorist websites. And there have been some recent developments here in the United States about a few of these terrorist websites hosted by a U.S. internet service provider.
Yes. But
could you inform us about what happened to those, where they're located, and why we should still be concerned?
Absolutely. The two largest terrorist forums on the internet, Al-Ikhlas and Al-Hisba, were previously hosted by an ISP, internet service provider, located in Tampa, Florida. The name of the ISP is highvelocity.net NOC4 host. And we contacted them many times, and they refused to shut down. However, last month they shut down those websites. I believe in February they shut down both of them upon pressure from the Tampa Tribune. The Tampa Tribune newspaper was aware of those, and they contacted them, and eventually they shut both websites. However, those two terrorist forums, they moved, at least Al-Flash, we know they moved to a ISP in Malaysia. And this particular ISP in Malaysia, it seems, becoming now famous for hosting many terrorist forums. There are many large terrorist forums, many other popular forums, like Al-Qaeda forums, are hosted by this particular ISP. So we are working on investigating why they are migrating towards this particular ISP. Is this ISP a pro-Al-Qaeda? Are they founded by Al-Qaeda? That's something we need to look at, because it's very strange that so many Al-Qaeda forums are going to be hosted, are being now hosted by this particular Malaysian ISP. We, as we have discussed many times through articles on American Congress for Truth, the danger of the terrorist forum is much more than many people believe. The forums are set up to achieve, for example, recruiting, spreading propaganda, and teaching people how to conduct terrorist acts on the internet, teach them how to build explosives, how to build car bombs, how to commit some other type of violent terrorist action. And those are the three major goals of Al-Qaeda having terrorist forums such as Al-Ikhlas or Al-Hisbah. And we don't believe that there is a lot of intelligence value that can be obtained from monitoring those forums, because the members of the forums are very much aware they are under surveillance, and they don't divulge any personal information such as names or locations, and they definitely do not divulge information about action, like we are going to attack tomorrow at 3 p.m. They will never say something like that. And they are constantly warned on the forums by the administrators not to trust anyone and not to divulge this information. In addition to that, they use a lot of software in order to hide their identity on the internet. For example, the IP address, they have a lot of software that hides IP address or create what we call a proxy IP address. For example, if they are in the United States and they use software, they appear as if they are in China. They are dialing from China or Japan or any other country. So it's very hard to track them on the internet. So the intelligence value to obtain from this terrorist forum is very, very small. On the opposite side, they are causing much more damage by spreading propaganda, by recruiting more people, and by teaching them how to conduct terrorist acts. I myself, I have seen many members of these forums being totally brainwashed, and they left to fight in Iraq and Afghanistan. And that's right there. We have members, regular folks who just went there, getting brainwashed. Eventually they become terrorists, and now they are fighting our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan and killing untold number of innocent civilians.
How do you think this should be approached?
I think the way it should be approached, it should be a global cooperation between world governments, of course led by the United States government, to shut down those terrorist forums. Because suppose the United States government finally decide to tell the internet service provider in the US not to host these forums. If they move to Malaysia, as the case now, it's a problem. So the United States government should have a deal with the Malaysian government, basically stating that yes, we are not going to allow our ISP internet service providers to host any terrorist forum. And if this is a global agreement between many governments, I think it will be very, very hard for them to appear on the internet.
Joe, I want to thank you for this rather enlightening interview. And for our ACT members, this is one courageous guy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.